my honor and privilege to welcome you to the weekly BW Education Wednesday Wisdom. We talk to education leaders, pioneers, thought leaders who are contributing to the education and learning space, skill and development space. Today we have a leader in the education space who's done it all, seen it all, is still very active, and is truly multifaceted in the way she is. Let me welcome Dr. Swaroop Sampath Rawal, who's an educator. She's been an actor, and very few people know that she actually has a PhD, which she got many years back from a revered university in the UK in education. So she's also the winner of the Teachers Prize 2 years back. So clearly she's somebody who's very passionate about education. While she made her mark as an actor and in the entertainment space, her PhD was in the area of how to use drama to be able to create better educators. So let me welcome Dr. Swaroop Sampath Rawal to the BW Education Wednesday Wisdom. With me is my editorial colleague Vasudha Mukherjee. Dr. Rawal, welcome, and it's an honor to speak to you. First of all, I'd like to ask you, how have the things with you in the last 8 weeks, both personally and professionally?
First of all, before I answer your question, I'd like to say thank you to you for inviting me, Anuragji. It's such a pleasure to talk to you always. You're so passionate about everything you do, and it's great talking to you. And hello, Vasudha. It was really nice meeting you.
Hi.
Sorry, what was your question? I completely
My
forgot.
question was, in the last 8 weeks have been tough for almost everyone I know. So how have they been for you personally and professionally?
I have something very interesting to share with you. And I'm so glad you asked me this question. Last year around this time, one morning I got up and I said, I'm not even going back to the day of the lockdown. That's another story. If it fits into our interview, I will bring it in. But one day around this time, I got up in the morning and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? The reason, Anuragji, is that I use drama to teach. I use experiential learning. And I'm very against a lecture format, a verbatim, lecture, where the students just listen. The cognitive domain is only the teacher's priority. Only the teacher is knowledge. And the students don't know anything. And, their heads are just stuffed in with the lectures and, books and stuff like that. And I have been so critical of this kind of education for the longest time. I got up one morning last year and I said, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Because with the new normal came the new words. Physical distancing, masks, online classes. And I am thinking, this is totally not me. So I guess I will just have to retire. But I have some friends who I was working with at the Sardar Patel University, and they said, Swaroop, you just have to teach. Let it be online. And, me being me, would not accept to do it in the normal Ghisapita way. Like Anuragji, I'm very sad to say is that, online has come on, but they're still teaching like they would teach in a classroom. And that just doesn't work. You cannot teach online the way you teach in the classroom. So I was like, I'm going to make a difference. I was luckily teaching postgraduate students, but I guess I would have adapted for primary too if I did get that. But I'm going to share my experience with teaching postgraduate students who are doing their masters in social work, who were in the 4th semester of, their learning. And I said, okay, now that I'm going to be teaching them, let me start teaching them immediately. And I decided that I would teach them. Now, Anuragji, there is something I would like to share with you. There is a thing called a transactional distance. Now, the transactional distance is not the geographical distance. It is the cognitive distance, is the psychological distance, is the distance in communication. And this is something people have not thought about. Well, I said I'm going to reduce the cognitive distance and I'm going to really do it well and I'm going to challenge myself. So, like you have, taped this conversation, I used to tape my class and I used to watch every class again and see how well I was reaching out to my students. One of the things everybody now does is has a whole lot of slides. You would be ashamed to hear this. I mean, I cringe at the thought of this. Is that one parent recently told me that since the last 3 months her son has been learning, he hasn't seen the teacher. She puts the PowerPoint of the books on the screen and teaches through that. I think that's terrible, you know. So I was determined not to do anything like that. And I started teaching my students using online games, to catch their attention. I keep on, I do attention grabbing things so that my students, if I have a 2-hour class, are with me all the time. Of course, we have a problem of the internet and we have a compulsory Google Meet to be used. Now, videos would be off. Audios, of course, are not in my control. I would never put them off. And I said, doesn't matter, but I want to know that you all are listening. So I would ask them questions in chat. I would ask them questions verbally. I would ask them to put something in the Google Classroom. So all the time I do attention grabbing.
Keep them engaged and check their levels of engagement.
Absolutely. There is one wonderful thing I did. And I used to teach through drama in education and I changed to using cinema in education. So now I use cinema clips to teach. I did a wonderful qualitative research lesson and I used Inception game to teach coding. I used Nancy Drew to explain data and analysis of data. I used Erin Brockovich to teach data collection. So I used regular...
If I were your student, I'd never miss a class.
I'm a little jealous right now of your student.
I saw that expression and believe me, Vasudha, I loved it. I could see, oh my God, yeah. So actually, I will share something which happened in class is that I asked one girl, Georgia, her name was, and I said, Georgia, tell me this. And she says, yes, miss. And she just went off. No Georgia on the screen, no sound. And I'm like, oh my God. In chat, I got a message saying, ma'am, the electricity in the building's gone. You are not going to believe it. In 5 minutes, she was in somebody else's computer. I said, what did you do? She says, ma'am, I cannot miss your class. I have my answers. I want to know if I'm right or wrong. So I ran to my neighbor's house, who's about 5 minutes away, and I'm in her house and I'm in her computer. I think that's wonderful, isn't that? I mean,
Absolutely.
That's the kind of teaching you should do. So, well, I think, I was scared, yes, but scared and fear is good. And because of that, I could make a wonderful lesson and a wonderful curriculum for my students.
And let me ask you, you narrated this incident. Let me ask you, what are the larger implications and learnings for teachers from this? Give us what are the things that have gone on well and tell us the things that need improvement.
Oh, lots of improvement. And it's really difficult for the teachers because I think most of them don't have the training. Like I do, Anuragji, I have the training of a camera. I have training of videos. I know how to talk because one of the things is when you're online, you need to be a little more, you need to be overt. You cannot just keep a straight face and talk like this, which you could do maybe in a lecture. Of course, I always get a firing from my husband, Paresh, and he says, you are making too many faces. So I said, Paresh, don't teach me about teaching. I'm not in your theater, and nor am I in front of your camera in the film studio where I would have to do underacting. Now, what is going wrong is that
So I just
90.
say you're saying it takes a new skill set and a little harder to be able to engage students when you're virtually creating the learning experience. And you use the word
Absolutely.
experiential learning right up front. So can you build on it?
Before that, I have one very lovely quote to share with you. If education is to be saved, it will be saved by people with changed minds and people with new visions. It will not be changed with people with old minds and new programs.
Beautiful.
So अभी mind बदलना पड़ेगा, vision बदलना पड़ेगा. What you need, experiential learning, for example. It was a challenge for me. It was so easy to do it in offline in the classroom, in the normal classroom. But doing it online was a very difficult thing. So I started making, like when I was doing my communication game, I actually downloaded so many instrumental songs and I would play it to them and tell them to guess the song. So, that is actually doing something and learning. Experiential is having the experience of the learning and learning from the experience without just, saying that to listen, you have to concentrate and you have to, cut out other sounds and you have to, stop distractions and, all these silly things. I mean, they're not silly, of course, but you cannot teach it through a lecture. No, it's not going to be retained. To be retained, the students have to go through the experience. So I made a whole lot of new games which I play online with them and make them understand how to, understand communication, how to understand self-awareness, how to understand empathy. It's very difficult. And my heart bleeds for this generation, which has to learn in the most negative circumstances. So I, as a teacher, try my best to make it better for them. Try to be kinder to them. Try to help them. Try to understand them. We are going wrong in so many things. It's like we know online. Okay, fine. But none of the teachers have the practice of teaching online. They need that. Some of the teachers, I'm sad for them too, because, this physical distancing, staying at home, working from home is not good for them. Even teachers are going through a lot of depression. There is a lot of things that can be done and should be done. They should be done ASAP because this is what the life is going to be now.
Absolutely. So, in terms of the implications for teachers, how do you think teachers can upgrade themselves to be relevant for now and in the future? Clearly, how do they embrace new techniques? Is there a playbook? Are there a couple of points that you'd like to say which can act as a guide for teachers to be able to kind of upgrade themselves?
Yes, one of the best guides I use is my living educational theory methodology or an action research methodology, which says, how can I improve my practice? Every teacher needs to ask that. We sincerely need to be worried about our students. We need to keep on upgrading. Nobody is going to come to do it for you, The thing is, very frankly, I don't think the government knows either, because we are all in the same soup of the pandemic. Everybody is suffering together. It's not as if, they were forewarned about it and, okay, they brushed it up. So we need to help each other. And that's what I do. For example, there is this wonderful NGO called Humanitarian Aid International, which works with the Hindu refugees in camps in Jodhpur and in Delhi. I am running a class for the teachers, and I have a class twice a week for 1.5 hours, in which I'm helping the teachers upgrade their knowledge of how to teach. This is what people need to do. If you know about it, You need to just go out and help. You cannot make it a business venture every time. You know, I'm so sad to say that everything is not about money. It's about your values. What are your values? If your values are competence, if your value is service, if your value is working for the good of humanity, if your value is democracy, if your value is equality and equity, then you really need to get out and do things for the people of our country.
Thank you so much. You're right. Education is the way to really bring about the real change, because the value system that you talk of gets ingrained in an individual when he or she is between 6 to 12 years of age.
Right.
Definitely before 10 years. And clearly, if we bring our best people to be teachers, and as you said, have this performance anxiety, do preparation, do rehearsal, I think they'll be able to do a better job than they are doing. You're right. When at first last March the pandemic came, we thought at some stage it will go away and we'll go back to our old method of teaching.
That's
but
true.
We now know that we've discovered the virtues and we're also forced to do it for a longer period of time. I want to get to another question, which is, in some way you alluded to it. It gives me a segue into asking you that. How do we attract brighter people to be teachers? Today, more and more people are wanting to be entrepreneurs, wanting to be finance professionals, wanting to be tech professionals. So how will we then attract the best to be teachers? And how do we nurture teachers? That is something that is bothering me. Because if we don't attract the best to be teachers, then we won't be able to create the kind of talent that we want to create.
This is such a fantastic question you're asking me, Anuragji. And in fact, I would say in one way you're already doing it by having a teacher on your platform and you're talking to her. You need to make teachers' roles important. You need to, you need to celebrate teachers. You need to, give them a pat on their back and say, man, you're doing a good job. Or how can I help you? So that's a lot that has to be done. One of the things is that seriously, the pay structure has to be good. But now with the 7th Pay Commission and all, it is becoming better. So now we need to train teachers well. One of the things we're lacking very much in very good teacher training. We really need to have good teacher training. We need to set values into their heads, because we find that so many teachers are employed, in rural India, etc., but they're not doing their job. Having said that, I want to tell you that I've met some of the most fantastic teachers in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Rajasthan when I was doing teacher training for the government in rural India. I've met the best teachers, and I have traveled abroad and seen teachers abroad too. And every time I see teachers abroad, even for example at the Global Teacher Prize, I used to see teachers who are in the top 50 and the top 10, and sometimes I would say, but the teachers in my country are equally good or even better. So we don't have this lack of teachers. We don't have, the payment is not so bad, but I think the will is not there. We need to now start glorifying teachers. And this is, I think, what only, Anuragji, I think you are fantastic at Business World doing this for me, giving me a platform to speak. But I'm very sad, and I would like to share this with you, is when I was on the top 10 Global Teacher Prize, I called up so many people of the press who I knew. Nobody wanted to write about it. And they said, oh, this is not a story. Or we cannot say anything. It's the editor's call. And, that was just an excuse. It's so sad. There is this one girl, one lady, one teacher from you who's in the top 10 out of, something like 10,000, 12,000 nominations from 171 countries. I mean, so many, and you don't even want to honor her.
Yeah, I want to tell you, I am whatever I am because of my teacher parent. My parents are professors. They're now 81 and 80. So clearly, whatever I have is because of them. The
And I
ethic
just
of work,
want,
hard
sorry to
work.
interrupt you here. I want to say that you do this every time. You're so good.
So I don't know I'm good or not, but you're definitely I can say. And I want to say, my mother was at the SCRT. She was a school. I remember when I was 6 years old, I grew up in Old Gurgaon, and I would go with her in a Haryana Roadways school bus to Sauna. She was a teacher, and then she became a principal. I must be 7 years old. And I would go to the school with her. And then I think I was 12 years old, or she came to the SCRT, the State Council of Educational Research and Training. I just want to ask you, have the SCRTs and the NCRT lived up to their promise? Do you think it's time to reinvent the SCRTs and NCRTs?
You hit the nail on the head. It's about time we really get incompetent people out. And I've seen plenty of them in, these very august organizations and institutes. They should be doing their job. They should be, you would not believe it. I had a discussion with somebody who was very high up in the NCRT, and we were talking, and I said, "Ma'am, but this is not experiential learning." And she says, "Of course, there's experiential learning in everything." First of all, she was very rude to me, which is okay. That's her wish. But she said, she said, even digital learning is experiential. So I said, how? Give me an example. So she says, using the keyboard is experiential learning. And I said, what are you saying? She is the person who's on one of the heads. And this is what her knowledge of experiential learning was. It's a shame. So, वो जो government promotions होते हैं, something should be done about that, especially when it comes to education. Only people who know should be promoted. And I think we should really need to revamp all this.
You're so right. I think it's time to... Yeah, go ahead, Pusla.
Yes,
go ahead.
On the topic of government, I have to bring up NEP 2020. What are your views on that?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the NEP 2020, of course there are gaps, but then they are not saying that there are no gaps. I think it's a wonderful visionary document. There are so many things, that are going to be really good. And this is just the policy, right? It is not the roadmap. We have to make the roadmap.
Why do you think there's so much resistance against this policy? Right?
Because people are not understanding it. I mean, they've not bothered to understand it. For example, I was talking about the NEP when it just came out, and they said, "Kaise karna hai? Ye to likha nahi hai." But this is a policy, my God. Why don't you understand this? This is not the roadmap. You have to make the roadmap. You have to make the curriculums. You have to make all the lesson plans. All that has to be done. So they're just telling you that you should have all this. Like there is one wonderful thing in the NEP which said that social workers and knowledgeable people of the community can go to help in the school. But it's not left at just that. I don't know, Vasudha, for example, if you know, there is a thing called school social worker.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
when I didn't.
Oh, yes. After you've done your MSW, you do a certificate course in school social work. Or if you're a social worker and like, for example, you train under somebody like me, for example, in life skill education, then you can go in the school and teach life skill education. So it's there in the NEP. The only thing I'm very sad is that the NEP at no point does have the life skill education, which is one of the most important things and necessary things. They do have empathy, critical thinking, creative thinking, but these are parts of life skills, but they don't have life skills, and that is something which I found a little disappointing.
And that is probably the most difficult thing to sort of teach, especially now with the social distancing in place.
No, it is not so difficult to teach it with the social distancing. In fact, this is something which we need immediately ASAP. And the UGC has already informed all the universities that they need to get life skills and life skills warriors ready to help the student community and to help the other community, the outer, bigger, larger community.
And again, in the context of the fact that when you were in a school physically,
Yes.
old world style, when you were in a campus, whether an engineering campus or a business school campus
Right.
or a liberal art campus, you would learn those life skills of conversation, of dealing with situations. And I think education without those is incomplete. So there is a even more need to have these life skills and
Exactly.
experiential
And,
learning.
with all the students, caught in at home, not being able to meet their friends, socialization has become so difficult, communication has become so difficult, understanding your emotions, managing it, stress, fear, all that is, negative, negative, negative. I told you my heart bleeds for this generation, the schools and colleges. Like my niece has just finished her IB 12 and she doesn't have a graduation. Isn't it sad? I mean, she doesn't have exams and she was wishing to do the exams. So, it's really sad. They need a lot of help.
Absolutely. Now let me ask you another question. If you had to make 3 recommendations, I'm not saying a lot of,
Yes.
to teachers, and today my focus of the conversation is teachers.
Teachers, yes.
How do we make teachers more future ready? So what would be those 3 things? You already talked about rehearsing. You already
Yes.
talked about being excited about it, rehearsing
Yes.
it, and you said you watch your own performance to be able to see what can be done better, both from a response and engagement of the student. So
Exactly.
give us a sense, what can the teachers do themselves? I think that's my real question to you.
One of the things definitely the teachers can do is like what I do is, we record our programs and we bother to look at it and see how well or badly we taught. There are some things which you did right and you say, yes, that was great. I shall repeat doing that. Or you think, oh, no, this was not nice. I found out that using too many slides was not good because when I was on screen talking to my students, they learned better. So even coming up
They
with...
stayed engaged.
Oh, yes.
That's why sometimes we do video calls.
Yes.
Because there is a presence of the person. You can see the body language. You can see the smile. You can see the face.
You hit the nail right on the head. That's what it is. It would be better. I do this sometimes. I go and say, okay, I'm going to check the note, and go on my cell or take out a paper or sometimes go back, into the share screen. But I found that when I go into the share screen and I want to tell them something, even if it's a beautiful poetry, I lose them. So instead, I have a second device with me, which is usually my iPad or my cell. And then I go on that and then I read it out to them. And I find that I've engaged them in it. So it depends on your students and what you do and how you teach. So having said that, I was talking to a teacher abroad and she said, no, I think it's very nice to have slides because then the definitions are clear and, there's no ambiguity in what you're saying. So it's really up to you. All I say is do the best, and what works for you and may not work for another person. So check your work, look at your slides, look at your videos and improve yourself. The question you need to keep on asking yourself is, how can I improve my practice? That's one question you need to keep on asking yourself. The other thing is that I know this is not a recommendation in the sense that you can learn it on your own, but I think all teachers definitely need to learn life skills.
Are you saying that there are teachers whose own life skill experience or training needs to be strengthened? It is missing.
Yes, it's missing. It needs to be strengthened because the minute you have that, there's one very important component in life skill education, which is effective communication. So if you've done that, you're going to be able to communicate better. Another very important component is critical and creative thinking. The minute you start enhancing your creative thinking, your whole class is going to change. You're going, my creative thinking was including cinema into the classroom. And I've done, Vasudha, when I was teaching communication, I used Charlie Chaplin's films, The Great Dictator, to teach communication. I had my students in splits and they learned so well from, that. So you need to, be creative. And critical is that if you're not critical, you're not going to be able to do your theory well. So you need to understand that. So many things about life skill education which are important. So instead of having 3 things, or maybe I did say 3 things. One is keep on asking yourself, how can I improve my practice? Second thing is enhance your life skills. And the third is, rehearse, practice, look at your videos and change.
Wow.
There are questions around. Smita Bhargav is asking, dear ma'am, I'm Smita Bhargav here. I wish to ask you that as you said that life skills should be an integral part of the policy, how can one be more realistic about putting the life skills in the lesson plan? What kind of activities should be planned and how to train teachers for the same?
Smita, this is a very interesting question. But first of all, before integrating it into the class, you need to become an expert in life skills. So you need to do standalone classes first and really learn how to do standalone classes. It's only after you've done so many standalone classes can you integrate it. So I would suggest that you first just do standalone classes.
Thank you so much. Francis Joseph is asking 2 questions. What's your opinion about the national education policy? You already said it's a fantastic vision document. It outlines the future. We have to now get into execution, and some of the things are directional. We need to find our methods of doing. And so he goes on to ask, what's the role of CABE, computer-aided, behavioral education? I think that's what CAPE stands for. Francis, I hope I've got it right. Doesn't it need more teeth? I don't know what CAPE stands for.
I think he's talking of the Central Advisory Board of Education.
Yes, so okay. I was trying to creative. See, I'm creative. I made something out of it. But that's what he's talking about.
I think it has enough teeth. It's all the ministries and the education secretaries in it, and a few people like who are non-government members. Giving advice, but the VCs and all are there. So I think it's doing a good job, and I think it's fine. I think more we should look forward to the NEP coming on.
Okay, Rajiv Bhatia is asking, would you suggest a resource center for higher education teachers? So in some ways I think, what are the resources that they need to tap into? So, he's saying he's possibly buying into what you're saying.
Yes.
So Inder Bhatt has corrected me and said Center Advisory Board of Education.
Yeah.
It is only advisory body and not an executive body. Thank you, Inder, for educating me. I am humble enough to say that I don't know everything, and I have inquisitiveness of a child, and I'm a hairless, toothless infant. Toothless one is a joke, but hairless one is a reality. But back to you, Dr. Rawal, in terms of should there be a resource center for teachers?
Oh, yes, and I cannot tell you just off but the government has got so many internet resource centers, and we have the different platforms. We have we have the platform where we have all our the electronic journals on. So we do have a lot of platforms. I think I don't mean you, but I think you as a teacher should go and find out what is available for you. There are plenty of stuff like this, and the government the education ministry is working on this all the time. I know that because we're working a lot with the universities. For example, I'll give you is that after the NEP came in, the higher education institutions and universities have had over 1,500 webinars in which they've discussed small points of the NEP. For example, making educational hubs, having art in STEM versus STEAM, and so many, inclusive education. A lot of stuff has been discussed and is being discussed, and a lot of things being ironed out by the VCs of all the best universities of our country.
Thank you so much. We took all the questions. Thank you, Francis. I hope we did justice to your question. And we took Smita's question, we took Inder's comment, and Rajiv's question. Let me ask you, when it comes to education, a lot of times I met an entrepreneur who is originally a leather and textile garment exporter in very big listed companies. He set up a real estate development arm and done fantastic job at design because he's basically rooted in design. And then when he set up the school in this huge residential city in Bangalore, he's brought in a teacher from a top European school, one of the Nordic countries. What can we learn from Nordic countries? One can learn from anyone, and I'm sure that there's a lot that the world can learn from India, from our culture.
Yes.
We've got a lot of things, right? We are the biggest exporter of brains to the world, so to say, of talent to the world. I mean, look at the CEOs of largest companies are from India. Creators of some of the finest things that exist in life are Indians, whether it's an Intel processor at Intel, so on. So what can we learn from? Often when I'm doing conversations on education, we talk about the European way of learning, the Nordic way of learning, whether it's in Denmark, in Norway, in Sweden, where there's the emphasis on holistic education. And I'll tell you, when my two young children were growing up, they go to a very good school, and I'm grateful for that, both to the school and to the Almighty for getting admission in that school, because it is very tough in Delhi to get your kids into any good school. It's a supply-demand issue, and they are also very grateful for that. But as parents, in the initial years, we always thought that the school is academically not so inclined. It focuses on holistic healing and holistic teaching, but academically they are weak. And I can say that every parent in Delhi is unhappy with any school that children go to. They're always looking to improve on. So tell me, what can we learn from these European schools and this Nordic way of holistic education?
I would say that it would be very difficult to do what they do because they have less numbers. And I think, first of all, it's our numbers that kill us. Then, we don't have so much internet. We have only, I think, 20% or 27% in our villages with internet, and only 45% with, any device which can be used. So I don't think we should worry about that. We should worry about improving ourselves. We have these fantastic things already with us called the Nai Talim, which Gandhiji wrote about. And that was about experiential learning. And, it was about holistic education, and it was education that really mattered. So I think we should look into ourselves. Most
Fantastic.
important. Yeah, I think
and
so.
Again, when it comes to economy or COVID handling, people say, look at Singapore, look at Israel. I mean, they're smaller than the smaller states that we have. So our numbers are daunting, our resources are daunting.
uh, our beautiful languages. Like they
Yes.
say, कोस में पानी का टेस्ट बदलता है और लैंग्वेज बदलती है. तो जब ऐसा है, they don't have these issues, but we
Right.
do. So I think we should look at ourselves and try to improve ourselves. I think we've worried too much for too long about British education and American education and
Ivy League.
European.
May I comment here too?
I think we should
Of
worry
course,
about
Vasudha
ourselves.
has studied
Oh no, I'm
abroad.
just like coming in because I've actually studied in Indian schools, in foreign schools, in public foreign schools, in Indian private, public, in every kind of system.
Yeah.
In class sizes with 10 students and in class sizes with 50 students. And I always got attention from teachers because being that student who came from abroad or came from outside.
Yeah.
And can I just say, like, if the teacher pays attention to you, it just changes the way you learn. And it doesn't matter what language they speak, and that's the thing, people seem to have this thinking that teaching is an easy job or a housewife's job, and it's ridiculous.
It
It's one of the
isn't.
most difficult jobs in the world. And I think Sir already asked this in the beginning, but how do we change that mindset? How do we change this mindset that, this is a difficult job and this is something that you do need to have a certain person.
And I would not use the word difficult, I would use the word specialized in unique.
Specialize, yes.
It is a specialized job because it needs its own skills, needs its own
Absolutely.
focus.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. And you talked of Delhi. I'm talking of the refugee camps. And now that the teachers have started using drama in education and experiential learning in the class, there's a lot of learning happening, but there's a lot of fun and laughter. And can you believe it? The parents sometimes come to the teacher and say कि तुम्हारे क्लास में तो बहुत मस्ती होती है, सीखते भी है कि नहीं? So we
You
have to
can't
change
learn, you can't be
parents'
smart and be happy
mindset.
at the same time, right?
No, I know. So we need to change parents' mindsets.
Yeah, absolutely. Parents are like one of the biggest influences in our lives when it comes to education, not just the teachers.
Yep.
Let me also, there are comments coming in, and the beauty about this is interactivity. Mr. Inder Bhatt is saying, for educational resources, please visit National Digital Library, Swayam, Diksha,
Exactly.
NPTEL, and many
That's
other
right.
places.
Yes.
And Neena Singh is asking you a question. In the National Education Policy 2020,
Oh no.
time and attention is given to the ECCE, and I feel drama and singing should be taught to children first. Then we should begin with the alphabet. What do you feel about it, since you are from theatre and movie world? And not only that, I must tell you, Neena, that Dr. Swaroop Sampath Rawal did her PhD in the late 70s, I think 79 or 80, in drama. And sorry, it was not I just want to say that you're experienced and ahead of time. But what do you have to say to Neena Singh's suggestion that drama and singing should be taught to children first?
Oh yes, arts. I think arts should be taught to children, but art, what I say is different from what is really taught. So for me, art is action, reflection, transformation. And
I love
think that is a very important part, and that's how the children should be taught at all age groups.
Beautiful. And another comment from, Neena Singh gives you a thumbs up and says, the first skill in life is communication.
That's true, absolutely.
Yeah, which is true. And Smita Bhargav is saying our strength should be our use of our local resources. I think that the world would be the best way to teach children. Teachers need to be more enterprising in their delivery.
Yes.
Francis asked a very relevant question, and I can relate to it. Francis is asking, during the pandemic, the anxiety levels of children are very high.
Yes.
So they're facing something like this for the first time.
True.
I can say it, being a COVID warrior, how do we handle this anxiety amongst children?
So again, this is what I told you. If I get time, I will tell you about it. So on the first day of the lockdown last year, I got up and I said, I have to do something about this. And I told you democracy is my value. And I think democracy is a verb and not a noun. So every citizen in our country has a job to do. And my job is to teach. So I said, I'm going to still teach. So I went on the social media And on the social media, I started the Life Skill Challenge, where I started teaching a life skill and I started teaching a game that would help, the student, the children, the parents, the family, the old people, everybody to understand and handle stress and, and have something. Well, right now with the second wave, I've started a thing which is called the Positivity Challenge, where I, put some game or explain something about positivity. For example, if you're not positive, and of course, I got a lot of trolls who kept on saying, ye ho gaya, Ravi, you're telling smile. I just want to explain to you that I'm not saying negativity won't be there. Of course, negativity is there. Negative things are happening around you. But if you want to handle it well, you need to be positive. Because positive is the only way to learn and handle things.
You have to be optimistic about the future. That's why you're learning so you can apply.
Hope is such an important thing. Hope is not about happiness, but hope is about, yes, things will get better. So without all these things, you cannot handle it. So I think this is what needs to be taught to the children. Children need to have some fun and laughter. They need to play games. They need to understand this. They need to, have reading, stories, not just the internet, not just television. Sitting next to your grandfather or grandmother and listening to stories. I think that's the most wonderful thing you can do. And everybody is stuck in the home together. My children are older, they're about 30, and they still sit with their grandmother and listen to her telling stories about how it was when she was in school. And, once, she said there was a ship blast and all the gold flew all over. And, they were just enjoying it so much. So this is what we need to do.
You're amazing.
This is going together.
I just need to listen to you.
Thank you. This is like just going back to our old Indian ways, isn't it? About the family and listening to your grandparents and being with the family. And
absolutely. That's it. I hope Francis, Mrs. Rawal's group answered your question. And again, integral part is interactivity. Mr. Inder Bhatt is saying the purpose of education is learning. Different things have to be taught using different pedagogy. In my opinion, the assessment method determines what learning and how much learning has taken place. So how to assess is a challenge which most of the teachers have to learn. I totally agree with you. And, they have to, Mr. Bhatt, I would say that, I believe in the process of reverse mentoring. What we can learn from people who are younger, or millennials, because they equally have to contribute to our learning as much as we have to contribute to their learning. Clearly, and also internships are a large part of that.
yes.
I'd like to ask you my last two questions and then maybe allow Vasudha to ask the last question. One of the things that bothers me is you alluded to it. It's about the respect to teachers. It's about celebrating being a teacher and what a teacher means. I remember Sunday, Mr. R.K. Logani, who was this legendary founder, principal of the Delhi Public School in Delhi, went to heaven, and I saw the glowing tributes the students gave to him.
Yes.
And how he not only created institution, he created future leaders in almost all domains. And clearly, I can tell you, last year I on 5th June lost Dr. Pritam Singh, who was my director at MDI when I was studying at MDI. And in my journey of the last 25 plus years, he was very, very instrumental in just picking up the phone and telling me something that could help me, or collaborating with me and thinking I was capable of other things than I was. So clearly teachers can be inspirational. Last week I had Dr. Anup Singh, Dr. C.P. Shrimali, Dr. Poonam Sehgal, who all are my teachers at MDI. And, again, teachers, we may not. So how do we bring this respect back for teachers so that we can attract? You talked of money. Of course, while being in any profession, money should not be the most important criteria.
No,
it's your love for that. But still, in somewhere, we have failed as a nation, at least in the last 2 decades, I would say, in bringing the best to education. that's my own assessment. I would like you to comment on that.
I, somehow just don't like the word failure too much. But yes, we have not done so
By the
well
way,
in this.
Randy Posh says there's nothing called failure. Everything is an experience. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want.
That's nice. Yes. So I think one of the most important things is we need, in the olden times, the teacher was such a respectable person, the guru. And somewhere along the line, we lost this. I think we should go back to that, which is again ask culture, which talks of, the teacher is, and the teachers were so nice at that time too, So I think we need to go back to that. We've had these fabulous teachers, like Muchala in Gujarat and etc. So we need to talk about them. We need to have role models. That is why I'm very proud to be a teacher and to talk that I am very happy and proud to be a teacher, hoping that at least some child listens to me and said, I want to become a teacher like her, which would be a very beautiful thing. So we need to do that. I think the government needs to step up a bit and, re-establish the pride of the teacher. Society needs to do that, bring in respect. So I think it's more about values than, the monetary compensation, where we can, but one of the things is that we need to definitely get very good teacher training institutions in place. And as you would know, because you're from the press, that this government in the last term closed down so many Nakli teacher training institutions. I think we need to take a whip with all these people and, just give it good punishment. Because if you haven't trained to become a teacher and you have a stupid certificate and you're just getting the money which the government is giving for a teacher's pay, this is not an excuse. You're doing the biggest harm to humanity.
Thank you so much for that. My last question is, and then Vasudha's last question. EduTech has been a savior.
Yes.
It has been bridging the digital divide, but also, and let's take, you come from Maharashtra and you spend most of your time in Maharashtra and Gujarat.
Yes.
In Maharashtra, at the start of the COVID last year, more than 90% of Maharashtra schools and students did not have access to devices and bandwidth. So instead of EduTech or creating a digital bridging, creating a digital divide, what is your view on EduTech? And what is your view on, you right upfront said not everything should be business. You right upfront said technology is not education. I remember in an earlier webinar with you, you said talking to the camera is not educating, So give us a sense of what do you believe about EduTech?
I think I'm going to just turn and twist your whole thing around a lot and answer something which is like close to my heart. One of the things is that we need a lot of CSR and we need people from all these worlds coming in to helping rural India with, technology. And a lot of it can be diverse. And it can be blended in the real sense of the word. So blended means offline and online, but I'm talking of even radio. And a time like this, there are so many devices which you should be using. The thing is, we are not doing enough of creative thinking. So, the other problem is, is if you're in the business, you're not working closely with the teachers when you're making up your business with the new learning. So you're making up the technology, but you're not working with the person who's in the classroom. And this is the same thing the government is doing. They are not including teachers in this. ultimately it's me who's going to do the curriculum, it's me who's going to do the teaching, it's me who's going to use the technology, and it's my students. But you did not consult me, not me as in Swaroop, but me as in the teacher. So I think we need to join hands with the teacher first. A lot of CSR should come into all this. A lot of creative thinking still needs to be done to get a very good sense of blended learning. But while this is happening, I don't know much of what's happening in Maharashtra right now. I'm more in touch with my teachers in Gujarat, and I find that they're actually going to the village and setting up a class in the, chalk or the center of the village where the, the main tree is, and the panchayats are sometimes held or the meetings are held. And she's moving out there, they are moving out of their classrooms, going there and still teaching, because none of their students, or not enough of their students, have devices. They don't have internet. So what do? They're still teaching, and they're going and doing that blended type of learning. So we need to really reassess all that. But for heaven's sakes, ask the teacher.
Absolutely. It's like when we talk of sports administration, we talk of sportsmen being at the helm because they understand what it takes to be a sports person. Similarly, when it comes to policy making, when it impacts the educational ecosystem, teachers have to be at the center, in the heart of it. Thank you so much for saying that. Vasudha, last question reserved for you.
Yeah, to close this up, in the spirit of asking the teacher, you have talked about how everything the teachers need to do. There seems to be so much pressure on teachers to be creative, to be tech savvy, to be engaging throughout the day for all classes. So what can we do? What can we do to help support the teachers?
Thing is that set up things in which they can learn and they can, become better in what they, all teachers may not be like me, who would want to watch their videos, and, it's a habit I have formed because of my training as a film actor. Because I keep on, we keep on looking at ourselves and saying, no, this is not good, or I'm not said this well, I need to say this better. All teachers are not trained like that. So I think teachers need help for that. You need to make things for them. You need to train them. And, not like how it is done. What they do is like they'll have 10,000 teachers and then, train them. You can't do that. These have to be done on a smaller level with small numbers. And that's where we need help from the industry. So, Microsofts, etc., who are earning so much money from here, need to definitely, help our teachers by doing smaller programs and helping them learn. And, one thing, Vasudha, is everybody is missing out on our rural teachers.
Absolutely.
Everybody is thinking of urban teachers. Well, they will definitely, not that they don't need help, please don't misunderstand that. Like, for example, I'm a higher education teacher also. So everybody needs help. But please don't forget rural India. Reach out to them. This is what I think.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swaroop Sampath-Rawal, for talking to us. You're an educator, you're a teacher, you're winner of the Teacher's Prize. You're India's pride in literally in the real word of it. You're truly multifaceted. You're passionate about what you do. And today, and through various initiatives that you do, you're contributing to raising the consciousness of what needs to happen to this ecosystem. We at BW Education and BW Business World are grateful to you and look forward to more conversations and engaging you in initiatives that make a meaningful difference to the community of teachers. So thank you so much. We're grateful to you and to our viewers and listeners. We'll see you next Wednesday, same time, 4:30 p.m. We'll be talking to Mr. Atul Chauhan, who has built India's largest private university ecosystem. We'll talking to him about the Amity journey. I've known him for more than 2 decades, and We'll talk to him about the changing paradigm of education. So we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. The date is 2nd June at 4:30 p.m. to talk to Mr. Atul Chauhan about how Amity has created an impact for students. What does it do to stay relevant, add new courses? What did Amity do during the COVID to help students? For example, Amity said any student that has lost their parents, they will take care of the education. Now, what a beautiful thing to do. And the numbers that signed up were huge. So, at the end of the day, it's also time to give back. How has Amity done that? And where is education as a service headed? I know education is also means to entrepreneurship, and we have education entrepreneurs. There's nothing wrong in it. Traditionally, education in the world was done by big industrialists, and over the last 2 decades, we've seen industrialists setting up universities or entrepreneurs getting together and setting up universities. The Ashoka University is a great example of that. The ISB in Hyderabad is a great example of that. So we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at the BW Education on 23rd June. Again, at the same time, we have JC Chaudhary and Akash Chaudhary, Mr. JC Chaudhary and Mr. Akash Chaudhary, talking to you about how the Akash Institute was built and the journey that they took to impact the lives of many students in terms of preparing them for competitive exams, and the partnership and buyout of Akash by Byju's. What is the future of Akash? How did that partnership come out? So every Wednesday, we'll keep you engaged by talking to education leaders. Thank you, Mrs. Swaroop Sampath Rawalji, for talking to us and encouraging us in this conversation. We definitely engage with you more, and we're again with you.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.